Every generation tends to believe the one after it is declining. But psychology tells a different story. They're not getting worse, just becoming different. The time you're born into doesn't just determine your age, it quietly shapes how your brain interprets the world. Let's unpack what's really happening inside the minds of each generation and why people today think so differently. First, baby boomers, the builders. They grew up in a time when the world was recovering from war. Everything around them emphasized stability, growth, family, and hard work. Psychologically, their mindset formed around one core belief: if I work hard, I'll be secure. That's why many boomers value discipline, loyalty, and structure. It's not about being outdated, it's because they were raised in a system that actually rewarded those values. But here's the shift. As the world sped up with technology, changing norms, and new ways of living, their sense of identity was challenged. When your life has been built around work, stepping away from it can feel like losing a part of yourself. Beneath their steady exterior, many quietly wonder, who am I without my role? Second, Generation X, the survivors. They were caught in between eras, too young to fully experience stability, too early for the digital boom. They witnessed layoffs, rising divorce rates, and uncertainty at home. The message they absorbed early was simple: you're on your own. That's why Gen X values independence so deeply, not because it's fashionable, but because it was necessary. Psychologically, they developed resilience and emotional toughness. They're cautious about trusting systems or trends because they've seen them fail. If boomers created the structure, Gen X learned how to function when that structure cracked. Third, millennials, the seekers. They were raised to believe in big dreams, only to step into adulthood during chaos, especially events like the 2008 financial crisis. They were told success was guaranteed with effort, but reality didn't match that promise. Psychology refers to this as times expectation shock, times when your belief in a fair world collides with unpredictable reality. That's why many millennials deal with burnout, self doubt, and the feeling of always falling behind. But here's the flip side: they became the first generation to prioritize meaning over money. They don't just want to exist, they want purpose. Freedom, creativity, and self expression matter deeply to them. Still, that freedom comes with restlessness, a constant search for something that finally feels enough. They stand between two worlds, the traditional and the digital, and that position isn't always stable. Fourth, Generation Z, the hyper aware. They are the first generation that didn't discover the internet, they were born into it, and that changes everything. Their minds are constantly processing notifications, trends, opinions, and endless streams of information. They can handle a lot, but it comes at a cost: mental overload. They are more aware, more questioning, and often more anxious than generations before them. Because when you see everything, you start to feel everything: too global issues, expectations, pressure, comparison. Their biggest struggle isn't lack of opportunity, it's overstimulation. They don't need more information, they need peace. They crave authenticity, calm, and control. They're not overly sensitive, they're mentally saturated. Psychologists often describe this as times digital burnout, times a young brain carrying the weight of constant input. Fifth, Generation Alpha, the unknown. They're growing up in a world shaped by AI, fast content, and parents who already lived part of their lives online. Their reality is built around customization and instant access. They may have shorter attention spans but greater exposure to information. Less real world freedom but more control in digital spaces. Their biggest challenge? Learning how to stay emotionally grounded in a world that feels increasingly virtual. If they don't, we may see a generation deeply connected to everything but disconnected from themselves. Here's the real truth: every generation is a product of its environment. You're not born thinking differently, you're shaped by what you experience and survive. Boomers built, Gen X adapted. Millennials searched for meaning. Gen Z questioned everything. And Generation Alpha may redefine what it even means to be human. So the next time you see generational conflict online, Remember, it's not about better or worse. It's about different worlds creating different minds. Because psychology shows that the era you grow up in doesn't just influence your behavior, it reshapes how your brain works.